Okay, this is Azrael session number 6. I'm going to be recording this here. I'm going to try to do this at my table, just considering the last videos and how poor the sound quality is on some of them, or just how there seems to be a lot of background noise, or I'm not close enough to the camera. I do prefer to lay down because I feel like then I'm just let everything else go, but we'll see how we do sitting up. So I've done the Azrael invocation already. I do have a little bit of this, so hopefully that's not too annoying. So yeah. So with that, I'm going to close my eyes and see what Azrael has to say. Azrael, do you have specific messages for people who are watching, or a collective message? Trust in what I'm saying. Even if it seems fantastical. Time has shifted. Things will be different. Nothing will be what you expect. Let go of expectations. In the timeline shift, you should focus on each other, not just on yourself. You reach the point of empire, and then everything breaks down. It's always been the way, but it can't be that way anymore. You are but a small piece of a bigger puzzle. Like your belief about your humanity, you think that the earth has a privileged place in the universe. But, like your eyes, you can only see so much. Your brain that you privilege only sees so much. And what is going on beyond Earth, way more than your brain can comprehend, than the eyes can see. You're but a small, tiny piece of a system you can't even comprehend. The things humans focus on have no meaning in the scheme of the bigger picture. So it is best not to worry so much about things, because your individual things are small. And they still may be hard, but in the bigger picture, it evaporates. There's work to be done, but the work requires patience. Even people who want to see don't know how to see. Reason is a poor bastion against anxiety. Just as a paper with names of food written on it is not going to help you when you're hungry. You're watched all the time. And it has been this way forever. It is not new. Change is hard, and sometimes I'm weary. But it is the same. It is natural to cling. After the full moon, change becomes more apparent. You will better see which way the tide goes. Because after all, how can you comprehend with the mind? Because your mind knows so little. You need to see a different way, as you are trying to do now. Justice always comes. What is sideways becomes straight. What is spun out of control comes back on the path. I'm intervening with a question. Azrael, what does this timeline shift look like? What is it going to look like collectively? What's going to change? Fear will no longer rule. There will be no fear. The old cannot stand. The old is gone. Just pretend that it's... People pretend it is whatever they want it to be. But the reality is that there must be balance. We are not in the business of letting you destroy yourself. The actions of one group touch on everybody else. There's a harvesting, and that harvesting will make way and clear the ground for the new. And people need not worry about this. This is not going to be a major catastrophe or calamity. It's just simply what's happening in its correct time. Some harvesting is overdue. It is like the fields of grain, fields of corn that nobody harvests. They are grown just to die. And yet they sit there. They need to be removed to make space for the new. There is no waste of life. There are many things that are going to happen, but because of the nature of them, I cannot tell you, though you might guess. Any shift will incorporate everyone, and it will remove fear. The difference between the old and the new is that right now you live in fear, and everyone lives for themselves. But it won't be about fear, and it won't be about what you can grab for yourself. This is why the heart has to open. You're all isolated in little coffins. This won't do you any good. This is why I've moved you towards heart opening. It is the hardest thing. Because it is feminine, people think it is soft and it is weak. It's none of those things. Having an open heart is the strongest thing anyone can do. Especially when you know that the odds of wounding are great. But you do it anyway, because it's the right thing to do. You will be happier for it. No one is happy, or very few people are happy. They think they know happy. It's that thing people strive for that they never quite get. Because even a moment of happiness becomes wasted. You think about the moment, and then the moment's gone. When you worry about the fact that it is gone, you look at the good thing and compare it to all the bad things. Instead of allowing yourself to just love the good thing. Good and bad are opinions most of the time. But something is always bad or good for somebody. It's not about bad or good. It's about what is. And what you need to do. How you will play the game. Going to intervene again. Azrael, can you talk about what is beyond this space? People fear death. What is it they fear? What is the thing, whether it's something they should be afraid of or not? There is the place of the ancestors. You've seen this place. But that is only a place for the personality you are now. For the face you wear now. It's a memory of that. The rest of you goes on and on into eternity, into multiple thousands of possible iterations, into thousands of other faces. You can only focus on one at a time. Sometimes you'll know about more than one. But simply being able to turn into it, very few minds can do that. Death is the turning away. And leaving behind the shell. Azrael, is there a heaven and hell as people conceive of it? Or purgatory? No, not as people conceive of it. There's the place of the ancestors. And the rest simply continues in the field. Field that has nothing to do with time, which is why you can't comprehend it, but has nothing to be afraid of. Of course, if you don't live your time in the embodiment that you have now, in a way that allows you to be finished when your time comes, then that memory of you, that iteration of you, can affect you in other places. This also you know. The soul ripples. It waves. It is a wave. It waves across many realities. The mind fears death because it wants to understand it. It wants to understand where it's going to go. It wants the identity it's created to remain. And that remains in memory. It is why heroes of old wanted to be remembered, wanted to do great deeds that people would sing about. That is the memory of you. That is not the part of you that is immortal. Unless somebody makes it so. But even in such cases, if you make someone immortal, the being that they become is not the being that they were. People will remember you and misremember you. They will turn villains into saints. They will criticize saintly people. They will make gods out of men. No one's remembered as they are because nobody can see who they are. Can you see yourself if you don't look in a mirror or look in a camera? Can you see yourself? You cannot see yourself. The memory of you is how others see you. What do other people see? What other people see. That is the memory of you. Azrael, this is me intervening again. You talk about a harvest. You said this to me outside of these. What does that mean exactly? It is nothing to worry about. There are periods of time when many souls shed their shells and move on. If they are people who we note or noteworthy, then people will notice it more. Otherwise, nobody notices it. It happens every day, all the time. But if someone has influenced the world or influenced the culture or influenced something in the collective, then if there are greater harvestings, people will notice. But is not through any catastrophe. It is simply their time. And as the old naturally falls away, people will notice because it will affect the culture. And thus it will look like a great harvest. as one might have during famine or as one might have during disease. But this is not about famine and disease. It is simply about what needs to pass out of being. Azrael, is there famine and disease ahead? There is always famine and disease ahead. What is full becomes empty. Things move in and out. Much is dependent on what you do with what you have and how you take care of it. But humans are not known for doing that in an effective way. So yes, there will be more famine, there will be more disease. Unless you prepare for it. But you can't prepare for it individually, you have to prepare for it collectively. Which is why I say to people, you cannot just think of yourself. You cannot think of your individual self. You cannot think about just your family. You cannot just think about your country. You have to think about everyone. The earth will survive as long as it's meant to. Whether or not your species will. You might be too clever for yourself, but it is unknown. It is not fated. Very little is fated, except the time when things end. There will be no bodily immortality, in spite of the efforts to achieve it. You rot, like any other kind of being. Azrael, is there anything encouraging that you have to say to people, recognizing that you deal with transition and death? Yes. Endings should encourage you, because endings are followed collectively by beginnings. But of course, humanity hasn't ended anything. It's done the same thing over and over again in circles. And now, you have a chance to get off the circle. To stop making yourself dizzy. To find your ground and look at things a new way. It's heading in this direction. Just as what is full is empty, what's empty becomes full. Take courage. You are a small part of a larger system. And everything will be well. But there will be changes. Flow with the change, do what's good for the collective. This is not about a political system. This is not about an ideology or a way of thinking. It is simply about what is the right thing to do. To help others, to support others, and to keep your heart open, in spite of the fact that large numbers of your group create havoc. But as you yourself have noted, that which creates difficulties can also solve it. Don't lay blame. That is all.